Have we ever seen the transition from chemistry to biology? No. This is referred to as abiogenesis. Yes? When chemistry becomes biology. Every study of biology presupposes this. Because if there's no such thing as a movement from chemistry to biology, there cannot be biology. Therefore, the dead became the living. Have you seen that? No. Have you sensed that? No. Is it scientific? No. Do you believe in it? Yes. It's a miracle. Just like Jesus raising the dead, it's a miracle. Just like the day of resurrection, it's a miracle. So just as all of those things will happen, the Quran says you can believe in all of that. It's premised on the movement from a non-living chemistry to a biology. You believe in it. We all believe in miracles. If that is how it's defined, and that's how he defined it.
They have to explain that the whole universe and every single thing in the universe and all of this is a product of chance, and it came by nothing.
And he presents for us an example and forgets his own creation. He says, "Who will give life to bones while they are disintegrated? Say, he will give them life who produced them the first time, and he is of all creation knowing." His command is only when he intends a thing that he says to it, "Be," and it is. So exalted is he in whose hand is the realm of all things, and to him you will be returned.
I said to Peter, "Peter, tell me, what do you think created the universe?" And he said, "Oh, mathematics." So I started to laugh, and he said, "Why are you laughing?" He was a bit put out. I said, "Well, Peter, I'm a mathematician, and that must be the silliest statement I've ever heard in my life." And he said, "Why?" Well, I said, "Peter, 1 and 1 make 2. Did that ever put £2 in your pocket?" Now, of course, I'm not clever enough to have thought of that myself. I got that from C.S. Lewis. And C.S. Lewis saw this with characteristic clarity. Of the laws of nature, he writes, they produce no events. For every law, in the last resort, says, if you have A, then you will get B. But first catch your A, the laws won't do it for you. And he finishes that wonderful description by saying, bookkeeping, continued to all eternity, could never produce 1 farthing. And I want to go straight to the heart of the book, The Grand Design, with this central claim: because there is a law of gravity, the universe can and will create itself out of nothing. Now, perhaps the first question to ask is, what does Hawking mean when he uses the word nothing? The universe can and will create itself out of nothing. Because notice the assumption in the first part of that statement. Because there is a law of gravity. That is an assertion of existence. Because there is something, the universe will create itself out of nothing. It's a very odd way to start, isn't it? Hawking assumes that there is a law of gravity. But the main issue surely is this: gravity, or a law of gravity, is not nothing. Now, of course, I am aware that when physicists talk about nothing, they often appear to mean a quantum vacuum, which is manifestly not nothing. And Hawking alludes to it later in the book. We are a product, he says, of quantum fluctuations in the very early universe. I'm tempted to suspect that a lot of this is a bit too much ado about nothing. The universe can and will create itself. Now, if I say X creates Y, I'm presupposing the existence of X in order to bring Y into existence. That is what the word means. So if I say X creates X, I am presupposing the existence of X to account for the existence of X. Well, this is obviously self-contradictory, and it's logically incoherent, even if we put X equal to the universe. To presuppose the existence of the universe to account for the existence of the universe sounds like something out of Alice in Wonderland, not science. But if scientists didn't put the universe there, neither did their theories, nor the laws. Now, much as I find it hard to believe, Hawking claims that all is necessary to create the universe is the law of gravity. And when he was asked on Larry King Live, which I believe is an American TV program, where gravity came from, he answered M theory. So gravity comes from theory. That's where it comes from. Well, to say that a theory or a physical law could bring anything into existence is surely to misunderstand what theory is. Scientists construct theories involving mathematical laws to describe natural phenomena. But on their own, those theories and laws cannot cause anything, let alone create it. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. That is a law. It is an observed regularity in that sense. It is descriptive and predictive. But the law that the sun rises in the east or sets in the west doesn't move the sun, and it certainly didn't create the sun, did it? So the very example the man gives, Newton's law of motion, have never in the whole of the history of the universe caused a snooker ball to move over a table. It's a person with a cue that does that. The laws will describe, at least for the first couple of bounces before chaotic effects set in, what's going to happen. But laws don't cause anything nor create anything. So what can Hawking possibly mean by saying the universe arises naturally from physical law? God or the multiverse. But if there is more than one universe, how is that an argument against the existence of God? God could create a multiverse, couldn't he? I certainly would agree that even if M theory were a fully formulated theory, which it isn't yet, and were correct, which of course we don't know, that would not imply that God did not create the universe. So arguments about the status of M theory are in a sense irrelevant to us this morning. The only thing I would point out is that Roger Penrose, an equally distinguished mathematician working in Oxford, said that M theory is very far from any testability. It's a collection of ideas, hopes, aspiration, and referring directly to the Hawking-Mlodinow book, he says, the book is a bit misleading. It gives you this impression of a theory that's going to explain everything. It's nothing of the sort. It is not even a theory. Indeed, in Roger Penrose's estimation, M theory was hardly science. And perhaps you should note that Penrose is a member of the British Humanist Association. There's a wonderful review of Hawking's book given by Tim Radford. It goes like this. In this very brief history of modern cosmological physics, the laws of quantum and relativistic physics represent things to be wondered at but widely accepted, just like biblical miracles. M theory invokes something different, a prime mover, a begetter, a creative force that is everywhere and nowhere. This force cannot be identified by instruments or examined by comprehensible mathematical prediction, and yet it contains all possibilities. It incorporates omnipresence, omniscience, and omnipotence, and it's a big mystery. Remind you of anybody? It took me a long time to realize that this is what is going on. It's a false concept of God that they're tilting at. We believe in a God who's not only a God of the gaps, but God of the whole show. He's not, of course, merely the God of the deists who lit the blue touch paper. He both created the universe and constantly sustains it in existence. Without him, there would be nothing for physicists like Hawking to study. So the more I understand science, the more my worship of the Creator increases. C.S. Lewis, summarizing it, said men became scientific because they expected law in nature, and they expected law in nature because they believed in a lawgiver. But it undermines the very thing we need to hold on to do science. And that is the objective belief in the rational intelligibility of the universe out there. And secondly, the belief that rational intelligibility exists. That is, that the human mind in here can, to a certain extent, understand the universe out there. Einstein said he could not imagine any scientist without that faith. Physics doesn't give it to us, as John Polkinghorne points out. Physics is powerless to explain the rational intelligibility of the universe, for the simple reason that you cannot do any physics without believing it in the first place. My very last thought is that I was amazed to discover that Hawking is picked up in Dawkins. I was even more amazed to discover when I debated Peter Singer just recently in Melbourne on the existence of God, that he comes up with the ultimate defeater for believing in God as an explanation. If you say that God is the explanation of the universe, then logically you've got to ask the question, who created the creator? And then you end up in an infinite regress, and so that's absurd. End of story. Now that is Dawkins' chief argument in the God delusion. I can't believe that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's analyze it, the final bit of logic for this morning. If you ask the question, who created the creator, you presuppose the creator is created by definition. Philosophers have a name for that. They call it the complex question, in that it constrains the possible range of solutions without you realizing it. Who created the X presupposes that X is created. So it has no relevance to an X that is not created. Of course not. So you see, the question is, in Dawkins' words, a non-question. He caused all that exists to exist, but he himself never came to exist. And if there is a God like that, he falls from Dawkins' question. Indeed, I put it to him that if he had written a book called The Created God's Delusion, nobody would have bought it. Because we've known for centuries that created gods are a delusion. We often call them idols. But the question has a little twist, ladies and gentlemen. As I put it to Richard in one of our debates, you believe it's a valid question. And indeed, in your universe it probably is, because you believe that the universe created you. Now let me ask you your own question. Who created your creator? I'm still waiting for the answer. So I leave you with this.